What's going on, everybody? My name is Joe, and I like to draw cartoons. And welcome to 2024 in Review Part 2. We're now officially in 2025, and it's time to look back on the second half of the year. If you guys haven't watched Part 1, please make sure to go back and watch Part 1 and come back to this video. If you've seen Part 1, you basically know how this is going to work, but if you're new here, here's how these in review videos work. I'm going to be going month by month and talking about the movies or the shows that I watched during that time, and then any artwork that I made during that month as well. So I'll be going month by month, going through all those things, and then at the very end, I'll be going through my top 10 films of 2024. Just like in part one, there's a lot that I want to cover in this video, so might as well just jump right into it. But before I do, as always, please make sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok while you still can, and follow me on Letterboxd as well, where you can see my full ranking of every movie I saw in 2024. I saw 77 new films in 2024, so you can see where some of your favorite ones may have ended up. And just like in part one as well, I've got a little cheat sheet to make sure that I don't miss anything and make sure I cover everything that I want to cover in this video. So we'll be jumping right into July, because we left off at the end of June. And in July, one of the first things that I saw in July was Despicable Me 4. Now, Despicable Me 4 was certainly a movie. It wasn't one of my favorites of the year. It's certainly in the bottom half of the year for me. It's even probably my least favorite in the Despicable Me franchise, including the Minions movies. I wasn't much of a fan of it, but it did have another awesome song by Pharrell that came out at that time, so I made sure to use that audio to draw Gru in 12 different cartoon styles. And those styles included Family Guy, Phineas and Ferb, The Simpsons, South Park, Bluey, Powerpuff Girls, Rick and Morty, Loud House, as a Lego minifigure, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and Smiling Friends. Once again, Despicable Me 4, not one of my favorites, but still a fun movie to watch. Now, up next, I'll be talking about 3 horror movie first watches. First one I'm going to be talking about is Longlegs. Longlegs certainly is a movie that really caught up steam on social media. A lot of people were excited to watch Longlegs, and I thought Longlegs was really cool. I really like Nicolas Cage's character and his performance in this film. I also absolutely love the emphasis they put on not showing his face until later in the film. I just thought that put so much extra weight to the scariness of this character. It wasn't fully what I was expecting, but I still thought it was really creepy. And it's one of those films where you go to see it and you just drive home in silence. It's really a creepy movie, and I really enjoyed that watch experience. And another film that I watched in July, another horror film, was Abigail. Now, Abigail is a film, the more I think about it, the more time that passes, the more I absolutely loved it. The bloodiness and the craziness of this film was so much fun. If you haven't seen it and you like horror and you can stomach the gore, definitely go watch it. And another horror film from this year that I watched in July was Late Night with the Devil. Now, you may have heard the controversy with this movie of them using AI, but when I watched it and I finally saw how they're using AI, it was such a stupid reason that they could have really avoided, so that people wouldn't have wanted to boycott this film, because the film is actually really cool. It's a cool concept and has some good effects, and it really is just a great horror film from this year. And I wish they could have just avoided any of that AI backlash, because it really just felt unnecessary. But outside of that unnecessary AI, it really is a good time, and I'd really highly recommend it. And another movie that I watched for the first time this year, it didn't come out this year, but it's one of the most iconic horror films of all time, and that is Silence of the Lambs. I talked about in a previous video where I was ranking kind of my favorite horror films of all time, and I watched this, and this instantly became one of my favorites. It is such an incredible film, and it makes sense that it was very critically acclaimed as it is, because this is one of the best horror films of all time, and it's now one of my favorite horror films of all time. Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins put on some of the best performances of their career, and it shows in this incredible film. Now, I cannot talk about July without talking about Deadpool and Wolverine, one of the biggest films of the year, and a film that has spawned a bunch of artwork that I've still been making today. But first, let's talk about the film. I absolutely love Deadpool and Wolverine. It's one of my top 15 films of the year. I really think that it's just the perfect version of what this film should have been. The comedy is incredible. The action's incredible. The CG is a little spotty at times, but it really is just everything it was meant to be. And it even has cameos that were worth the price of admission, really. There was enough in it that made me realize that this is the perfect film for a Deadpool movie. It just made sense for this to be a Deadpool movie with all the parodies and the fourth wall breaking and all the jokes. It all just made sense to me, and it's why it's one of my favorite MCU projects of all time now. But Deadpool and Wolverine also spawned a bunch of artwork, like I said, including a series I'm still working on right now, which is drawing Deadpool and Wolverine in 50 different cartoon styles. And I previously recorded listing off these 50, so I'll throw that video in right now. Powerpuff Girls, Cat Dog, Loud House, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Pokemon, South Park, Bluey, Rick and Morty, SpongeBob, Wallace and Gromit, Peanuts or Charlie Brown, Family Guy, Smiling Friends, The Flintstones, The Amazing World of Gumball, Beavis and Butthead, The Simpsons, Looney Tunes, Phineas and Ferb, Sesame Street, Bob's Burgers, Ed, Edd and Eddy, Invincible, Regular Show, American Dad, Ren and Stimpy, South Park Canadian, Gravity Falls, Disney, where Deadpool's kind of like a Disney princess type template, and Wolverine's more of like the Disney prince. The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Sonic the Hedgehog, Super Mario, Angry Birds, Fairly Odd Parents, Chip and Dale, Garfield, Hazbin Hotel, Fish Hooks, Scooby-Doo, Pinky and the Brain, Tom and Jerry, Big Mouth, Samurai Jack, Adventure Time, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Rugrats, Futurama, Invader Zim, and Cuphead. And like I said, I'm still doing it, and we're at currently 56 parts. Those other 6 include Teen Titans Go, The Muppets, Dr. Seuss, so it's like the Grinch and Max, The Smurfs, Cow and Chicken, and Dragon Ball Z. I'm still making them, and there's still more on the way. But Deadpool and Wolverine are not the only characters from this film that I drew in different cartoon styles. I also took the iconic shot in the Hulk in the reflection of Wolverine's claws wearing his brown and yellow suit. I took that iconic shot and turned that into 8 different cartoon styles. This was one of my favorite series of the year because it was so unique being able to try to translate the Hulk in a different cartoon style in the reflection of claws. And those styles included South Park, a Lego minifigure, Bluey, Peanuts, Smiling Friends, SpongeBob, Rick and Morty, and Family Guy. And it's hard to come out of Deadpool and Wolverine and not want to draw Channing Tatum as Gambit. One of my favorite cameos I've ever seen in any film ever. Channing Tatum was meant to play this character, and I would actually really like to see him more as that character in the future. And I drew him in 6 different cartoon styles. And those styles included South Park, the Lego minifigure, Rick and Morty, Samurai Jack, Bluey, and X-Men 97. And in the film, you also may remember that Deadpool makes a joke.
Who is your dialect coach? The Minions?
So I drew Gambit as a minion, as you'll see right here. And the last character from Deadpool and Wolverine that I drew in 6 different cartoon styles is, of course, Dogpool. I absolutely love the look of Dogpool. Peggy the hairless pug was incredible as Dogpool. So I knew I wanted to draw that character in some different cartoon styles. It's always fun to try to take a dog and translate it into different styles. And those styles included Family Guy, Peanuts, South Park, Blue's Clues, Disney, and Courage the Cowardly Dog. Deadpool and Wolverine is one of my favorite films of the year, and it spawned a lot of great artwork that I got to make, and I'm still making right now. Last thing I'll talk about from July was the incredible announcement that Robert Downey Jr. will be playing Dr. Doom in some upcoming MCU projects. And whether you agree with the casting or not, you can definitely agree the way that they revealed it is one of the coolest things that you could ever see somebody do. RDJ's aura was off the charts. And with that, I really wanted to take that shot of RDJ with his arms out, revealing that he's going to be playing Dr. Doom, and draw it as a side-by-side with his iconic shot with his arms out in the first Iron Man. And you'll see right here, this side-by-side drawing of RDJ as Tony Stark and as his reveal of playing Dr. Doom. Still yet to be seen what he'll be like as Dr. Doom, but I'm certainly excited to see what Kevin Feige has up his sleeve. And now we finally are into August, and compared to July, August is a much slimmer month with a few movies that I saw for the first time, including Furiosa Mad Max Saga. Now, like I said in a previous video, George Miller just knows how to make an awesome looking action film. The whole Mad Max universe is just so awesome. It's so incredible. And all the action in Furiosa is just as good, if not better, than the action in Mad Max Fury Road. Anya Taylor-Joy is incredible, and Chris Hemsworth in the villain role absolutely blew me away. I did not expect him to be as good in his role as he was. There wasn't much artwork that I made from this movie, but I did draw Dementis, Chris Hemsworth's character, as a Bluey character during a drawing and ranking that I'll throw up right here. Furiosa, easily one of the best action films of the year, maybe one of the best action films of the decade. And in August, I also saw A Quiet Place Day 1. I really love the Quiet Place franchise. I really love the first one, but it really feels like since then, the films have just been getting a little bit worse with each new film we get. The film was fine. I just feel like it could have been better. With the New York City setting, it feels like they didn't capitalize that as much as they could have. So I feel like the film could have been better. And in August, I watched the Lord of the Rings original trilogy for the very first time. I'd never seen anything Lord of the Rings in my entire life, and I watched these for the first time, and I can say it is definitely one of the greatest trilogies of all time. I really enjoyed the watch, even though the films are very long, but the story is great, the characters are great. Samwise Gamgee was my favorite character throughout all this, so I enjoyed his story with Frodo, and I really just enjoyed this watch. And the last movie I'll talk about from August is Alien Romulus. This was a film that I was really chomping at the bit to see, because I'd never really seen much of the Alien franchise up until this point, but I've seen people hyping it up, and I really want to go see it. And I can say it is an incredible sci-fi film. It's up there in like the top half of Alien films films for me. So there were just some creative choices I didn't really like the inclusion of the original synthetic using CGI for that. I thought the CG didn't look very good. I wasn't a huge fan of the final alien in the moment, but it's definitely growing on me more as time passes. I just really love the xenomorphs and wish that alien films would just have the xenomorphs and the facehuggers and that's it. I just wish it was more of that. But I did like that they were trying something new. But with Alien Romulus, if you follow the Escape Pod, you know that they were really hyping up this film. If you guys aren't familiar, I do work with Alex and Andrew at the Escape Pod along with Blake and Garrett at Duck Takes to make logos and make custom logos for their merch. And I saw how much they were hyping up the film and I figured they'd probably want some kind of alien logo. And I decided to make the Facehuggers logo. I'll throw up on the screen right here. This was such a fun process. This is one that they really liked. I'll throw up a screenshot. This was their reaction, me sending them like the first draft of this. They really like this one, and I really like how this one turned out. This was such a fun logo to make. So I also decided to do a little drawing series of my own where I drew cartoon characters with the face huggers on them. And that started out just as a basic drawing, but then turned it into me taking those characters and making like a custom Alien Romulus poster with that character. I'll show you what I mean in a second. So I did the South Park style with Cartman, then it says Alien Cartman. I did Family Guy with Peter Griffin, Alien Griffin. I did The Simpsons with Homer Simpson, Alien Simpson. And then the last one was SpongeBob, Alien SquarePants. This was such a fun series. I love how all of them turned out on their own with the red overlay. This was such a fun series to do. One of my favorites of the year for sure. And now in September was the time that I watched for the first time one of my favorite films of the year, and that is Challengers. I've said a whole bunch at this point how much I love this film, how much I love the way they told the story, how much I love the way the film was shot. Everything about it was just perfect for me, and it even had an incredibly unique soundtrack as well. I just loved everything about this film, and Zendaya just had the year of her life this year, and I'm sure she's only going to get better from here with some incredible performances. I absolutely love Challengers. And like I did with the Dementis character, and I said previously, I drew the iconic like Challengers poster with Tashi Duncan in the sunglasses, and then you see the two boys in the sunglass reflection as a Bluey character for a drawing and ranking that I'll throw up right here. Such a fun drawing, and I love being able to take Bluey and translate it into a bunch of different things, like this iconic Challengers poster. Now in September, I also took one of my favorite films of all time, Tarzan, Disney's Tarzan, and drew Tarzan in different cartoon styles to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the film. Like I've said this before, I think Tarzan is one of the most underrated Disney animated films of all time. I think it deserves to be in most people's top 5 outside of Pixar and maybe even top 10 including Pixar. I think Tarzan is just that good. The emotion in it, the music, the action, the animation, the characters, like it's just such an incredible film that you can feel every single kind of emotion in it. It's just the perfect film and I absolutely love it. And most people probably haven't watched it in a long time. I could not recommend it more to give it a rewatch. But like I said, I drew Tarzan in 6 different cartoon styles to celebrate the 25th anniversary. And those styles included Bluey as a Lego minifigure, Family Guy, The Simpsons, South Park, and Loud House. Once again, please go rewatch Tarzan. It is one of the best Disney animated films of all time. Now in September, we also saw the release of Beetlejuice. Now I hadn't seen the original until this year to prepare for the sequel, and I will say I do like the sequel better, but Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, they're all just as good in both. And then I drew Beetlejuice in a bunch of different cartoon styles. I wanted to do it for the movie, and then it really took off. Y'all really enjoyed it, so I wanted to do as many as I could. And those styles included Family Guy, Bluey, Hazbin Hotel, a Lego minifigure, South Park, Powerpuff Girls, Dragon Ball Z, Loud House. And if you follow me on YouTube, you probably remember basically the movement to try to get me to draw Beetlejuice as a Gravity Falls character. And I eventually caved way later than I should have. And I drew him in the Gravity Falls style. And then Smiling Friends, Scooby-Doo, and Rick and Morty. Beetlejuice was such a fun film from the year. Another great sequel. And then in September, we also saw the release of a big surprise for me, which was Transformers 1. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. I remember seeing the early marketing for it and thinking it was going to be absolute trash. And it ended up being one of the best anime films of the year. And because of the release, I drew Optimus Prime in 8 different cartoon styles, including one that I'd never really done before that turned out really fun. So we got Bluey, South Park, Rick and Morty, Loud House, Powerpuff Girls, a Lego minifigure, and some Squidward, which was a challenge. And in the style of Cars, Disney Pixar's Cars. Trying to take the whole truck version of Optimus Prime and turn him into a Cars character was a really fun challenge, and I think it turned out pretty good. Now, you can't really talk about 2024 without talking about Moo Dang, the iconic little pygmy hippo from Thailand who took over social media, and I loved all the Moo Dang content, so I really want to draw Moo Dang in 8 different cartoon styles. This was a challenge. I never really drawn a hippo in different cartoon styles before, so I wanted to try my best. And those styles included Bluey, South Park, Madagascar, like the DreamWorks movie, Smiling Friends, Family Guy, The Simpsons, Phineas and Ferb, and Peanuts. Now moving along into October, and I started October by seeing one of my favorite anime films of all time, The Wild Robot. I don't want to talk too much about this because I really just want y'all to go see it, but the emotion in it, the animation in it, the performances, the relationship between these characters is also incredible. It's easily one of my favorite anime films of all time now. I really could not recommend The Wild Robot enough, and you'll see where it winds up in my ranking because it's definitely in my top 10. And then another film you'll most likely see in my top 10 later is Saturday Night, the SNL kind of origin story, if you will. Like, this whole film is so chaotic, it absolutely captures lightning in a bottle by placing you in this 70s setting during this very chaotic time for Lorne Michaels and all these different actors trying to find their place in this show, trying to find their place in their careers really at this time. It's so incredible, and I love Saturday Night Live so much. I'm just such a comedy nerd in that way, that I loved watching this and seeing Chevy Chase and seeing Lorne and seeing Belushi and seeing all that and seeing Aykroyd, seeing Gilda Radner. All that was so awesome to see. So Saturday Night is easily one of my favorite films of the year. Now this brings me to one of my favorite series of the year. Always a fun series to do, and that is drawing cartoon characters in different Halloween costumes. A series I've been doing for a few years now, and I always love doing it, trying to tailor it around certain characters or certain pop culture things going on at the time. And here's every single cartoon character in a costume that I drew this year. Dr. Doofenshmirtz dressed as Anxiety with his sequelinator. Peter Griffin dressed as the Thing, Ed and Eddie dressed as the Halloween cereal monsters, Homer and Bart Simpson dressed as Deadpool and Wolverine, Cartman dressed as the Penguin, Mordecai and Rigby dressed as Finn and Jake from Adventure Time, Charlie from Smiling Friends dressed as Art the Clown, Alan dressed as Darth Maul, Perry the Platypus dressed as Captain Rex, Stewie Griffin dressed as Ted, Uncle Stan and Dipper dressed as Rick and Morty, Taz dressed as Glenn Powell and Twisters, Cat Dog dressed as Eddie and Venom, Hercules dressed as Cyclops and Phil dressed as Wolverine, Courage the Cowardly Dog dressed as Crypto the Superdog, Squidward dressed as Michael Myers, Gary the Snail dressed as Billy the Puppet, Krabs and Plankton dressed as Freddy and Jason, Sonic dressed as Mufasa, Chris Griffin dressed as the Chosen from Smosh, Stitch dressed as Nightcrawler, and Finn and Jake from Adventure Time dressed as Paul Atreides riding a sandworm. Again, one of my favorite series to do every single year, and this one was no different. These were some of my favorite drawings of the entire year. Another thing I did in October was make a video where I drew my slasher Mount Rushmore, basically taking some of my favorite slashers in film and turning them into a Mount Rushmore. And those slashers included Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, and Ghostface. Michael Myers really is the GOAT for me. But now, honestly, after the release of Terrifier 3, I could probably replace Ghostface with Art the Clown. And in October, I had the pleasure of working with my boys down at Duct Takes and making a Halloween logo for them, tailoring it around Freddy vs. Jason. I'll show right here. Freddy vs. Jason logo for Duct Takes to celebrate the spooky season. And in October, I also did a little series where I drew Coraline in a bunch of different cartoon styles. And those styles included Peanuts or Charlie Brown, Bluey, Loud House, Codename Kids Next Door, Gravity Falls, Monster High, South Park, Fairly Odd Parents, The Simpsons, Hazbin Hotel, Powerpuff Girls, and Tim Burton. I wanted to throw Tim Burton in there because a lot of people think that Coraline is a Tim Burton film. Even though it has the vibes of Tim Burton, it's not technically a Tim Burton film, but definitely is in that kind of same genre, you could say, without actually being a Tim Burton film. Just a few more things to cover here in October. Next one I'm going to talk about is watching M. Night Shyamalan's Trap. I didn't know what to expect going into this. I heard a lot of differing opinions for Trap going into it, but I absolutely love this film. I loved every single twist and turn. I was just absolutely locked in with this film from the get-go, and Josh Hartnett put on an incredible performance as this villain, but also like the main character. Like, this film is so good. It was so fun not knowing where the story was going to go next. And another film that I watched in October was Venom: The Last Dance. And frankly, I'm very happy it's The Last Dance and that the Sony Spider-Man villain without Spider-Man universe is basically over. I was never really a fan of any of the Venom sequels. I like the first Venom the best. This one was fine. Outside of like the symbiote like latching onto animals and like the Venom horse and like the Venom fish or whatever, outside of all that, just wasn't much of a fan of this film. But couldn't resist drawing Eddie and Venom in different cartoon styles. This was such a fun challenge to try to translate these styles into Eddie, but also into Venom. Basically, the symbiote attached to him. Try to see how I can translate that in different styles. And those styles included South Park, Loud House, Smiling Friends, Peanuts or Charlie Brown, Bluey, The Simpsons, Family Guy, Rick and Morty, SpongeBob, Ren and Stimpy, Looney Tunes, and Gravity Falls. And I can't talk about October without talking about Terrifier 3. Terrifier 3, it's really hard to try to pick Terrifier 3 or Terrifier 2, but I think I may say Terrifier 3 is a little bit better than Terrifier 2. I love both of them. I love the Terrifier franchise. I love Art the Clown, and I loved Terrifier 3. Everything about it was fun. The Christmas aesthetic was a fun addition to it, and Lauren Lavera put on another incredible performances as one of the best final girls of all time. So I couldn't resist to draw Art the Clown in different cartoon styles, and those styles included Bluey, Loud House, Hazbin Hotel, Amazing World of Gumball, Gravity Falls, SpongeBob as a shark, Scooby-Doo, Ed, Edd n Eddy, Peanuts or Charlie Brown, Garfield, South Park, and Aqua Teen Hunger Force. A new style I'd never really done before, but these were so much fun. But now let's move into November, where I've drawn some more Art the Clown with something a little bit different. Obviously, in Terrifier 3, it's Christmas themed. It has a Christmas aesthetic to it, and Art the Clown's wearing a Santa costume. And I wanted to try to draw Art the Clown wearing that costume in different styles. And those styles included Family Guy, Powerpuff Girls, Bob's Burgers, The Simpsons, SpongeBob once again, and Bluey once again. I love Art the Clown. I love the whole design of this character, and it's always fun to try to translate it into different cartoon styles. And as we are now in November, it means it's time for Christmas stuff, and I got the pleasure of working with Ducktakes and the Escape Pod once again to make some Christmas themed logos. These are always fun to do. With the Escape Pod, it was one with like the basic Santa hats on the mugs with some snow in the background, and then this one was really fun. This was a fun idea I pitched to him, which was taking the mug logo and turning it into basically some Christmas cookies with bites stick out of them on a plate with the crumbs around it. This was such a fun one to do. One of my favorite logos I ever made with these guys. And then I made one for Ducktakes also as well. Basically the same thing with the previous one, putting some Santa hats on them, and then making the pond that the ducks are in kind of frozen and having the reflection of the ducks in it. I absolutely love working with these guys. There's a few more logos I'll be talking about in a little bit, including one that I'm wearing right now. Now, November was a pretty packed month for movies and even one of the best TV shows of the year. And one movie that I did watch in November was The Substance. I remember hearing a lot of buzz over this film, and I really wanted to watch it. And it is easily one of the best films of the year for me. The horror genre, it was absolutely off the charts this year, and I love this. Demi Moore was incredible. Margaret Qualley, they were both incredible in their performances in this film. They really don't shy away from the message they're trying to convey here, but I think it works. Trying to be so on the nose with what they're trying to convey just made the film work, and I think that really was just the reason why this film was so good and will be kind of like a cult classic over the years. Now, I know this show was being released earlier on, but I finished The Penguin in November, and anyone who watched it knows one of the best shows of the year. One of the best comic book adaptation shows of all time. It's definitely up there with Daredevil, one of the best live action comic book shows ever. And obviously, I had to draw Oz in some different cartoon styles, and those included Batman, the animated series, The Simpsons, Bluey, and Invincible. There's no doubt this is definitely one of the best comic book shows of all time, and I can't wait to see more of Matt Reeves' Batman universe. Now, in November, we actually got our first look at Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk, and I have to say, I am so excited for Captain America 4, and I think Harrison Ford looks incredible as the Red Hulk. So when I saw that, I wanted to try to make a drawing of another side-by-side like I did earlier, but with Mark Ruffalo's Green Hulk and with Harrison Ford's Red Hulk. I'll show it right here. A side-by-side of the two characters. I think this turned out really good, and I am so excited for Captain America 4. Now, one film that really exceeded all expectations, because I had zero expectations for this basically, was It's What's Inside, the Netflix kind of thriller film. The premise is basically that they play like a drinking game almost, where they literally switch like bodies essentially, and they have to try to guess who is in each other's bodies, and then a whole bunch of chaos ensues, obviously, and has a great twist ending. I really could not recommend it more. Definitely go watch it on Netflix. It's a really fun watch. It's one you really got to pay attention to really understand what's going on, but I really highly recommend it. Now, there's another little mini series that I did in November where I was drawing iconic movie scenes, but translating it with the Peanuts or Charlie Brown, kind of the Charles Schultz art style, making it kind of like a comic panel and taking that scene and drawing in that style. I did a few of them. I loved making them. Didn't really get a whole lot of traction, but if you guys liked them, please let me know. I'd love to make more. And those included the dancing scene from Pulp Fiction, one of the opening scenes from Raiders of the Lost Ark, the May Thy Night Shift and Shatter from Dune Part 2, the whole entrance with the minivan, all the characters in Deadpool and Wolverine, Happy Gilmore screaming Rocky Balboa against Ivan Drago in Rocky 4, and then the iconic ending from Wicked, which we'll talk about here in a second. Now, November was the month that we were blessed with Glicked, Gladiator 2 and Wicked, but with it being Glicked, I wanted to try to do something where last year when it was Barbenheimer, I took Cat Dog and I drew them as Barbenheimer, the cat dressed as Oppenheimer and the dog dressed as Ken, and I want to do the same thing with Glicked. So right here you'll see Cat Dog as Glicked, the dog as Elphaba, and the cat as Paul Mescal in Gladiator 2. I got a chance to see both of them. Let's talk about Gladiator 2 first, because I was a little underwhelmed with Gladiator 2. I thought it could have been better. I thought the action could have been better. Even the CG looked a little spotty at times, but it was fun. But the best part about the film was Denzel Washington, and without Denzel, this film would have been almost unwatchable for me. Like, I think Denzel carried so much weight with his performance in this film, but outside of that, the film was pretty forgettable for me. All right, but now let's talk about Wicked Part 1, one of the best films of the year for me. The music in this film is absolutely off the chart. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande give generational performances in this film. They both did such an incredible job and were basically born to play these characters. And once again, the music is incredible. Even Michelle Yeoh is good in her like villain role. Jeff Goldblum is good in his moments as well. and the whole aesthetic of this world, the fact that they were actually practical sets, the fact that they were actually singing, just all made this film so good and made it one of the best films of the year. And with Wicked being one of the most popular films of the year, obviously I had to work with the Escape Pod and Duct Takes once again to make a Wicked themed logo. For the Escape Pod, I did basically taking the mug logos, making a Glinda mug, making an Elphaba mug, you'll see right here. Such a fun logo to make. And then obviously you'll see I'm wearing the Duct Takes Wicked merch right now. Probably my favorite Duct Take logo that I made this year. Love making this one. Love how it all turned out with the Yellow Brick Road and them dressed as each Glinda and Elphaba. Wicked really was just such an incredible film, and I love being able to translate all the incredible things from this film into a bunch of different areas. Like this year when I drew Elphaba in a bunch of different cartoon styles. And those cartoon styles included Bluey, Powerpuff Girls, South Park, Gravity Falls, Loud House, The Simpsons, as a Lego minifigure, Adventure Time, Hazbin Hotel, SpongeBob, Bob's Burgers, and Family Guy. And I'm also currently working on Glinda in some different cartoon styles as well. Right now, all I have is Powerpuff Girls, but there's plenty more coming in the new year. Please stay tuned for that stuff as well. We are now finally into the last month of 2024. We're into December. Now, December was also the month that I got to see Moana 2, and I was a little disappointed with it. I absolutely love the first Moana film. It's one of my top 10 favorite Disney animated projects ever, period. I absolutely love the first Moana. I love the music, love the story. The music takes a big step back in this film. You can tell that there's no Lin-Manuel Miranda, so they try to make up for it by trying to do some Lin-Manuel Miranda type songs. Just didn't work for me. Didn't really like the story. Comedy didn't really hit for me. But I did draw Moana and Maui in different cartoon styles to celebrate the release because I do love these characters still. And those styles included Bluey, South Park, Loud House, SpongeBob, Powerpuff Girls, Family Guy, Peanuts or Charlie Brown, and The Fairly Odd Parents. Moana 2 may not have been for me, but it could certainly be for you or a perfect watch for your family. Now, December was also the month that I got to see Smile 2, and holy crap, did that film absolutely blow me away. From start to finish, it starts with one of the coolest one-shots I've ever seen in a film, and then just continues to build off of this. Naomi Scott gets one of the best performances of the year. Women in horror were just absolutely on fire this year. Absolutely love Smile 2. If you would have told me that Smile 2 was going to be one of my favorite films of the year, I probably would have laughed in your face. I never would have thought I would have loved Smile 2 as much as I did. You'll see them in my top 10 later. You'll just have to find out where they wind up. And in December, we are fully into Christmas, which means I got to draw some Christmas characters in different cartoon styles. First one I did was the Grinch and Max in 6 different cartoon styles, and those styles included Family Guy, Peanuts or Charlie Brown, Bluey, Loud House, Garfield, and South Park. The Grinch is one of my favorite Christmas characters of all time. Jim Carrey's performance in How the Grinch Stole Christmas in 2000 is probably my favorite Christmas film of all time, so definitely had to draw the Grinch this year. And another one of my favorite Christmas films of all time is Home Alone, so I really wanted to take the iconic shot of Kevin from Home Alone with the hands on his cheeks and him yelling and draw that in different cartoon styles. I did a whole video talking about that previous series that I did that you can go watch where I talk more about the process of it. But here I'll show you Kevin McAllister from Home Alone in 6 different cartoon styles, and those styles were Bob's Burgers, South Park, Loud House, Bluey, Rick and Morty, and The Simpsons. And as you'll see, I also turned them into kind of like their own style poster for Home Alone as well along with that. Again, Home Alone is one of my favorite Christmas films of all time, so I couldn't resist to draw Kevin from Home Alone for this Christmas season. Now, December also saw the release of Sonic the Hedgehog 3, a film I've still personally not gotten to see yet, but anyone who's seen it, I know they're excited to see Shadow, so I wanted to draw Shadow in some different cartoon styles. I'm still working on that series as we speak, but here's what I have going right now. We got Family Guy, Powerpuff Girls, Invader Zim, Bluey, South Park, Gravity Falls, and Loud House, and again, some more coming on the way as well. I recently put out a poll asking what some people's favorite film of the year was, and a lot of people said Sonic 3, which is awesome. I'd love to hear more about what you guys really loved about the film. And another film that I got to see in December of 2024 was the film that I've really been waiting a while to see, and that is We Live in Time with Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. And this film was easily one of the best films of the year for me. Like the emotional beats in this film, the way that they were conveying a relationship, and like they're showing the good, they're showing the bad, everything about this film just was damn near perfect for me. I didn't care much about like the whole chef cooking competition storyline. I understand it was necessary for Florence Pugh's character to have something to try to aspire for during this difficult time, but God, this film is just so incredible. There's not really many films that have made me cry like this film does. It takes a lot for a film to make me cry, and this one just absolutely tore me to pieces, including that delivery scene and just the emotional beats and Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield's performances, and everything about this film was so good. And man, if you just need a good cry, throw this thing on and you'll get some tears out, because it certainly got a lot out of me. And the last thing I'll talk about from 2024 was getting to watch Robert Eggers' Nosferatu on Christmas Day. Now, I made a previous video where I talked about every single film that I've seen on Christmas Day in theaters. And Nosferatu is certainly up there as one of my favorites. It's one of the best films I've seen. I don't think it beats Puss in Boots: The Last Wish for me, but I think it's in the number 2 spot, right above Spider-Man No Way Home. If Spider-Man No Way Home on Christmas was my first watch experience for it, it would have been the number 1 spot. But I got Nosferatu with the number 2 spot right now because Nosferatu is one of the best horror films of the year. Robert Eggers just knows how to make an awesome looking film. And not only was the film gorgeous, but performances were incredible. The horror aspects of it were good. There were some good jump scares. And obviously Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok is absolutely insane. The prosthetics, the voice, everything was perfect. Didn't really like the mustache. I will keep saying I'm not a big fan of the mustache, but I understand its inclusion. And obviously Lily Rose Depp puts on an incredible performance as well. I hope she gets some kind of recognition for this performance because I think it truly is incredible. She absolutely deserves her flowers in this performance as well. Along with like Nicholas Hoult and like Willem Dafoe really stole the show for me also. Willem Dafoe in a Robert Eggers film is going to be one of my favorite performances I'll see. So I absolutely love seeing Willem Dafoe in these crazy roles in these Robert Eggers films. Nosferatu is easily one of the best films of the year. And it was so great getting to see on Christmas Day. And I really would highly recommend it to you if you can stomach the creepy stuff, the horror aspects, and even the gore at times as well. We are now through 2024 in review, and now it's time to look at my top 10 films of the year. At number 10, I have Saturday Night. I previously talked about that, how much I love this film, how much I love Saturday Night Live, so it makes sense that this is one of my favorite films of the year. At number 9, I have The Substance, obviously one of the best horror films of the year. Has an incredible message that they're really conveying right in your face, doing a great job doing it, making you uncomfortable, because that's what they were trying to do. And I also really love the aesthetic and the world building of this whole product in this underground company. I loved all of that. At number 8, I have Nosferatu, obviously one of the best horror films of the year, and Robert Eggers absolutely knocked it out of the park. Probably my favorite Robert Eggers film so far. It's just a little bit better than The Witch for me. I absolutely love Nosferatu. Number 7 are Furiosa. Again, George Miller just knows how to make a great action film. One of the best action films of the decade. Anya Taylor-Joy, Chris Hemsworth. Absolutely incredible in this film. At number 6, the film I just talked about, We Live in Time, a film that made me cry unlike any other film I've ever seen in my life. And the whole story, I just absolutely love it. And the ending, another incredible ending. This year was just a great year for incredible endings. Number 5, I have Wicked. Again, one of the best musical adaptations of all time, maybe the best. And one that has some incredible performances and some incredible music that have been blaring in my car ever since I saw it in theaters. Number 4, I have Smile 2. One of the best horror films of the century, maybe. I absolutely love Smile 2. It blew me away in every way possible. It was very much carried by Naomi Scott's incredible performance, and I really want to watch it again. It's just going to be one of my favorite horror films of all time now. Number 3 and number 2 could flip-flop, but number 3 I'm going to say is Challengers. Love the way the story is told, love the way the movie is shot, and love every single performance, including Zendaya's absolute powerhouse performance as this film's antagonist. And at number 2, I have Wild Robot, one of the best anime films of all time, one of my favorite anime films ever. Another emotional experience I absolutely love. Incredible music, incredible score, and some incredible relationships that we get to see play out. And at number 1, the only film that I didn't talk about in part 2 because it was from part 1, Dune Part 2. But in my number 1 spot since March, and it's easily one of the best sci-fi films of all time. So there you have it. There is all of 2024 in review. Absolutely love making this. Was such an incredible year with all of you amazing people. Thank you so much for coming on this ride with me. I appreciate all of you who stick around and watch my videos and support my art and throw out suggestions, all of that. I'm so very appreciative of this and of this incredible platform that I've been able to grow, and I hope to continue to grow in the future. Here's to 2025, everybody. Let's continue to make some awesome stuff. Just thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for taking time out of your day to watch my videos. It's so incredible that so many people like to do that. So thank you so much for that. And as always, please make sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok while you still can, and follow me on Letterboxd for all my 2025 movie reviews, and you can see all my rankings from previous years, including 2024 and 2023, all the films that I've seen. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and keep on drawing.